Alright, what's up, y'all? Today we are in Tuskegee, Alabama. We're at a property by the farmer's market. The university owns it. Today we're going to be taking a walkthrough to see what the property needs to repair it and to see what we can do. So we're going to just take an assessment of the property, write everything down, and then do an estimate. So come on in. So looking at the outside of the property, as you can see, a lot of the windows are boarded up. Judging by the architecture of the property, my initial guess is that it was a duplex, or it's designed sort of as a duplex because you have two exterior doors on the front of the property. Whenever you have two exterior doors on the front, it usually means duplex, multifamily, something like that, but it might not be the case. But let's look at it. Alright, so in here we have our living room. So in here what I'm looking for are things like cracks. We look right here by the window. One thing you want to look for is like diagonal cracks. I don't see any here. However, when we look up at the ceiling, we see cracks in the plaster. This doesn't mean too much of a problem because it's just plaster, and we don't know if there's any actual cracks in the ceiling material. It looks like there's wood up there instead of drywall. So in this room, doesn't look too bad or anything like that. Looks like you have tongue and groove ceilings, tongue and groove walls at the top, and it looks like it's been painted. So I mean, it looks pretty good. Just change out the lighting and stuff like that, light fixtures. Obviously in this property, all of the windows are going to have to be changed out. So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to measure the windows. So, alright, so when you're measuring windows, especially windows like this, there's two ways of doing it. You can either get the rough opening measurement or you can get the actual measurement. It's better to go with the rough opening measurement so that way you don't have any type of mishaps when you go to order the windows and it's the wrong size when they get in. So in that case, what I'm going to do is take my measuring tape, try to put it in there like as far as it'll go on both ends to get the actual measurement. So you're looking at rough opening is 32 3/4 inches. So, and then we're going to do the same thing, measuring the top. Alright, so I'm going to go up under this lip a little bit, and then so I see 54 inches up there. Alright, so the thing about this window, it does sit in this windowsill a little bit, so we have to account for that as well if we want to get the rough opening measurement. So I'm going to write that down. And so at the end, after I finish taking the tour, what I'm going to do is do a quantity takeoff. And so I'm going to count how many windows are in the property, and then I'm going to go back and measure, you know, all the rest of the windows so that we can get an accurate measurement and count for our estimate. So I'm not sure when this house was built. However, one thing that I do notice is that on these outlets, I want to point to one of the outlets. So in this property, one thing that I do notice, I'm not sure when this property was built, but normally properties around this age will have like fuse boxes, which means that the electrical systems is not all the way up to date in the property. So one thing you'll be able to tell in the property is that on the outlets, it'll have 2 prongs instead of 3. But one of the indications that electrical might have been updated since when it was first built is, you know, you look at the outlets to see how many prongs the outlets have. So this property has 3 prongs, which means at some point the electrical might have been updated on the property. Alright, so in here we have like a living room, family room type area. But one thing I do notice, we have a fireplace. Looks like it's been covered up. So maybe the opening cavity in here has been closed up, which is one of the things that, you know, I would recommend is closing it up, especially because we don't know what kind of damage has been done to the actual chimney part. So yeah, it's just best to close this up and just use this as an architectural feature, design feature. So one thing I see here is the cracks in this wall, as you can see, going diagonal from the corner of this door. So that indicates a possible bit of settlement issues that's going on in this house. And actually, if we go into the kitchen, I can further explain the settlement damage that's going on in this house and what we can do to fix it. All right, so in here we have the kitchen. One of the first things I've noticed in this kitchen is that there's water puddling on the floor. So you might be asking, where's water coming from? Well, if we look directly up, looks like it's coming from the ceiling because there's a hole in the ceiling. So what that's indicating is that there is a roof leak. So basically, the property does need a new roof because it's leaking onto the inside of the property. So whenever you're doing renovations, that's one of the first things you want to look for, because that's one of the first things you want to replace. Because when doing renovations, you have to dry in the property. So if the property is not dried in, you have to dry it in before doing any other repairs so that future repairs won't get damaged. So coming in, redoing the roof, going to cost about around $6,000 normally to replace a roof. But yeah, so other than that, the other thing that I noticed when looking in this kitchen is that it's going downhill, right? So basically that's the settlement issue that I was talking about before. So in order to do that, one thing I can tell about this property is that it's raised off of the ground a good bit. So basically what we're going to do, we can go under the property when we're renovating it into the crawl space of the property and jack up the floor right here where this door is. Jack it up and level it out. So that way the property will no longer have the issue of having a sinking foundation, right? So always in a property, an older property, you want to make sure that the foundation is level, that the floor is level. So, yeah, fix the drywall, fix all of that, which is a very simple thing to do. So in here you have your cabinets, kitchen cabinets, stove, things like that. I guess the refrigerator would go right here. So in here, of course, rip out all the cabinetry, rip out and replace them. Not too much damage in here, just drywall stuff. Really just cosmetics other than the settlement issue. And here, what we have is called a circuit breaker. So as I was pointing out before with the outlet, how it's 3-prong, here is your circuit breaker. So it has been upgraded since when the property was first built, or else it would have a fuse box instead of a circuit breaker. However, if you look closely at the circuit breaker, you see this thing that says 100, right? And so if you look lower, so all of the panels are pretty much covered with breakers in them. So there's no more room in this circuit breaker to put anything else. So when you're redoing a house, the first thing that you want to do, one of the first things besides the roof, is look at the electrical. If you don't have a 200 amp service in your property, you want to upgrade this to 200 amp. So right now it's indicating that it's 100 amp service. You always want to upgrade to 200 amp because of the technology and things like that that we're using these days. You don't want to cause a shortage. So you always want to have more space in your panels in order to put more things that you might want to hook things up with so that you don't cause a shortage or anything like that. Alright, so if you remember when we were standing on the outside of the property, and I was saying this property might be a duplex because it has 2 exterior doors on the outside of the property. That is correct that at one point in time this property was a duplex and it looks like it has been converted into a single family. So for instance, if you look in here, you see another kitchen space. So another washroom, another space to be utilized. So because they tried to convert it into a single family, what I would suggest doing is knocking down this wall and combining the two spaces, so that way you have a bigger kitchen, right? So for instance, you could turn this outlet right here from a stove outlet to maybe a dryer unit. Just run an exhaust pipe out of here from right here, put a washer connect right next to it, run your water line out here, since it's already, you know, water connections nearby, right? So that's one thing to be done. You still have a little bit of settlement issues over here, but it's something that's easily fixable. Alright, so just like I was saying before, it is a duplex, so you have your second circuit breaker in the house. So again, it's another 100 amp service. So if you combine it into one property, one single family unit, you could just have one 200 amp service. The property would have to be wired to one central circuit breaker with all of the breakers on the same, you know, system. However, it can be done to make things a lot easier. So you see the 100 right here, the 100 amp service. Just change this breaker box out into a 200 amp circuit breaker. So over here you have space. Technically it's a bedroom. Looked like they were using it for an office for the university before, but you have a closet back that way. Not too much need to be done to it. Of course, settlement issues. I can tell that the floor is declining down as it goes this way. So I mean, the whole house, that's just gonna have to be fixed, which is not too big of an issue as, you know, a lot of people think it is. Just a matter of getting under the house, jacking the floor up, making it level. Another bedroom back here is hard to see because of the lighting. Looks like there's a fireplace back there that's been covered up again. We have a bathroom right here. Very, very outdated. Just a matter of updating the bathroom area. So yeah. So that's a wrap. We looked at this property. We got a good assessment of it. We got our quantity takeoff to see what kind of materials we need and the amount that we need it in. And also just in general what needs to be done. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll post more about this project.